everyone, it's Rita with Everything Homemade, and I would like to show you how to make a family favorite recipe, and that is rhubarb juice. My mom made this all the time when I was a kid, and every time I make it, it just reminds me of her so much. So I'm going to show you how to do that and take a look at the juice. So this is already made, so we're going to make something like that. Look at the color. Isn't that gorgeous? Rich in color. So the other thing, as we're going to make the rhubarb juice, you know me, I like to keep things simple, but I don't like wasting anything as well. So as we're making this, the byproduct that we're gonna make is actually you can call this a jam, a spread, but we will also be making a beautiful amount of this rhubarb Saskatoon jam, and we will be wasting nothing. And that is the best part of this. You get the juice and the jam made at the exact same time. First, I would like to mention that I am a fiction author. If you want to check out my books, they're at the end of this video. All links are in the description box below. So let's get started on how to make this delicious tasting juice. So the very first thing you need is a pot. Now this holds 1.75 gallons. So this is a medium-sized pot. We'll make at least 1 gallon of juice out of this. So that is what I'm doing. I also am using frozen rhubarb. So in June, when the rhubarb's, growing like crazy, we cut it all up, and I will link a video to show you how we grow it, how we harvest it, video that has helped so many people. But this is just straight out of the freezer. You can definitely use fresh rhubarb. The process will be the same. So you grab a bag of rhubarb. This bag is the large Ziploc bag. This will fill my pot just over half. So let's do that. So as you can see here, I just put it in. I'm not worried about breaking up the clumps or anything like that, because it's going to thaw, and I'm going to have my pot to a simmer, so I'm not worried about that at all. The next thing you want to do is grab a bag of some kind of fruit. Now, I would highly recommend something that is not acidic. Rhubarb is already sour enough. I got a really nice ruby red rhubarb growing, so it's not as sour or bitter, depends on your taste buds. But just remember that. So what I have here is Saskatoons. Now Saskatoons in my area, northern Alberta, Canada, grows wild. So these are wild picked Saskatoons, and it's just something we find. So you can do blueberries, you can do strawberries, you can do raspberries, gooseberries. Oh, gooseberries would add a little bit of a bitter flavor. So I would do like a gooseberry and put in some maybe apples, chopped up some sweet apples just to sweeten it naturally. You can do apples and rhubarb. Basically, look around you. What do you got for fruit? So I'm going to use Saskatoons, and I'm going to just dump the whole thing in. And I'm using half a large Ziploc bag of Saskatoons, and it looks like that. So, my pot is virtually full. I want at least 1 inch from the top, so I'm just filling this up. Again, the Saskatoons were just frozen in my freezer, and I just put them in frozen as well. So the next thing we need to do is add some water. And I'm just going to use some hot water already, because I'm going to heat this up anyhow. So I'm just going to kickstart it with some hot water. And this is just tap water. Now, if you got chlorinated water, I would recommend just using something filtered. We already have filtered water in the house. The whole house is under filtration. So what comes out is actually nice and filtered water. So otherwise you got that chlorinated flavor. So fill your pot right full. I like to just press it down, make sure. Okay, so once things start floating to the top like this, and you can, you know, move it around and there's some give, that's about how much you want. And I've got about 1 inch to the top of my pot. And now let's transfer it back to the stove. So now that my pot is on the stove, I have a wooden spoon here just to stir it once in a while. I will also have a cup here beside it. That way I can put my wooden spoon in there. And the biggest thing here now, we need to heat this up until it hits a boil, and then we're going to decrease the temperature to a simmer. Okay, we have reached a boil here. You can see it boiling. You can also see it lifting up. And that's a really good sign. So what I'm going to do is just turn this down to basically low medium heat, and just to keep it simmering. You notice too that the rhubarb is starting to fall apart, and it is. That is totally, it's going to be mushy. This whole thing is going to turn to mush. So when it's simmering for the next 30 minutes here, you don't need to stir it constantly. I come back as I'm in the kitchen, maybe, you know, 5-10 minutes, because it's not going to burn the bottom. There's so much water in here. You're not making a jam where you're reducing the water out of your pot. You just want this to nicely simmer the way it is. Once that's done, I like to place the lid back on, and do this when you got it just at a really steady simmer. Otherwise, if you put the lid on prematurely, you're gonna have a whole bunch of liquid bubbling out and make a big mess. And you don't want to lose your liquid. So in this case, you want to keep the liquid in because that's your juice. So have it nicely simmering for 30 minutes. Stir it once in a while as you walk by, but it's not necessary to go overboard in stirring this. This is how it looks like a half an hour later. Look at that beautiful color. The rhubarb, the Saskatoons have definitely fallen apart. You can see the difference here. So now what you want to do, this is really hot obviously, is just set it aside. Now I usually make this in the morning. It's around lunchtime right now, and I will just set it aside and let it cool down until supper time, so about 5 hours. And what that does as well, it draws even more of the flavor out of the Saskatoons and the rhubarb. When I come back, I will show you exactly how to finish this beautiful juice. So this is 4 hours later, and I take the lid off, and you can sort of see the steam still coming. It's warm, it's not hot, but it still is warm, and you can see the beautiful color of my liquid. Now what I want to do is just kind of set this aside. So what I want to do is grab my bowl, put a strainer on top, just like that. I have another bowl here. I also have a gallon jar right here, and then I also have a measuring cup. So that's what I have kind of around me. So what I want to do in this bowl is pour my liquid into it and catch all the rhubarb and Saskatoons. Now as you're doing this, let it drain out and then spill the extra into that metal bowl that I have. Now I'm just going to use a spoon to get as much liquid as possible out. And then I'm left here with this wonderful rhubarb and Saskatoons, and this here is the base to our jam. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so now I have everything strained, and what I need to do is put it into my gallon jar here. So I'm going to do that by using a measuring cup here, and I'm just going to place it in my jar. I know if I lift up this bowl and I try to pour it in, I'm just going to make a big mess because it doesn't pour really nice. If you got a bowl that pours really nice, then you can alleviate this step a bit, but I don't, so I'm just going to do this quickly. Now for the last little bit, I'll be okay. There you go, so it made exactly a gallon. So now that the juice is done, you have a couple of options. I don't mind it at all, a little bit on the tart side. So I won't sweeten this. We're going to use this as a flavoring for kombucha. We're going to drink it just as is, and we love it like that. Now, but for some people, this is not palatable. Now, I'm kind of a person that I can drink straight crab apple juice, while others can't. So I don't care for things that are really sweet. To sweeten this, though, to the average person, you want to put at least a cup to a cup and a half of sugar into this. It's still warm, so you can just dump it in and stir it about. You can even add honey in here. I would add about 3/4 of a cup of honey. This is what I would do if I would have company over, because I know that they would like sugar in it. So that's something you can do. As for the jam, you can see how beautiful it is here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to transfer this into a lighter bowl so you can see it a little bit better. So there you have it. So here you have this beautiful jam. I mean, don't throw this away. This byproduct is delicious on toast, you know, on peanut butter, with butter, and this spread is absolutely delicious. Again, you can sweeten this. What I sometimes like to do is grate in some lemon zest, or grate in some orange zest and put a little bit, maybe squeeze of one orange, mix it about, give it a little orange infusion. Definitely you can add, you know, a half a cup of sugar to a cup of sugar in here. Sweeten it to you like everybody's different, but this is your base, so play with it. Add some, you know, fresh orange, fresh lemon, even fresh lime, just to give it that little kick into it. You can definitely add other fruit if you want to within this, but this itself is very good, and we just eat it on our toast. I also make a chocolate sauce out of this, so I will take some of this, put it in my blender, blend it up with some bananas, put some cocoa powder in it with a little kombucha, and actually make like a sauce for over pancakes, and that tastes really good too. So there's lots of things you can do with this, but we love it as just like a jam on our toast, on our pancakes. Tastes delicious. So I hope this gives you some more ideas of what you can do with rhubarb, and this juice is just fantastic. Definitely worth a try, and it's a great way to use rhubarb and other fruits. So thank you so much for watching, and comment. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to know if you tried this, and once again, I will see you on the next video.